Hey everybody, Dr. Fantastic here, a minute early. You know, one of my sayings is it's better to be an hour early than a minute late. And when you're an hour early, boy, I tell you, there's no stress on you. You could read a book, part of a book. You could do a text, an email. You could make some phone calls, do yoga, relax, no stress. But when you're a minute late, you're being disrespectful for the person you're meeting. You're not being accountable for your actions, so it's extremely bad to be late. I am never late. I'm always early. Drives a lot of people crazy that I'm early. So today is I believe the 6th or 7th of the month. I want to report a couple different things real quick here. The mayor of New York is on every day, as is the president, giving us updates on what's going on with the coronavirus, COVID-19. And I'm doing the same with my audience. Hope you're enjoying the show. I want to apologize for yesterday's episode 4. Today is episode 5. I looked at the quality. It was horrible. I don't know if it was the internet. I can't imagine it was the Rocket phone. That was the phone I shoot in 3D sometimes. I'm going to the Samsung 8. So the new phone number today, don't call the 714, because that's the one I'm recording on. We got 4 phones here. Call 310-619-9752. So call that number if you have some questions. We're going to cover 5G today. The myths, the hoax, the conspiracy theories, the rumors, the lies, the deceptions. And if you have any knowledge about 5G, I really want you to call in and comment as we go along. I'll stop it now and again and comment on it. And this, my friend who sent it to me has done a lot of research, and he's totally convinced that 5G is causing the coronavirus. I'm not, of course. One thing I would say, though, 5G is probably not the safest thing. The Russians did a report in '77, said it was going to be very, very dangerous. It's not 5 gigahertz, by the way, it's 5th generation. That's what the 5G stands for. It's the 5th generation of Wi-Fi. It's going to connect your refrigerator, all your movements, your automated car, everything. It's going to connect it all together. So the mayor was hoping it was going to be a plateau. And that's another reason why I don't think it's 5G, because if 5G was causing this, it would keep going up and up and up and up and up, never down. And the mayor thought it was going to plateau, because on the 2nd, oh, by the way, today is it is the 7th today. On the 2nd of April, oh, what did someone just said something? I missed it, damn it. On the 2nd, it was 562 deaths in New York, then 630, 594, 599. On the 5th, he was saying it looks like it's plateauing. Then yesterday, 731. So it's condolences to all those sad souls that lost lives. I've been reporting on the hoaxes and what have you. I tell you, people come up with the strangest things. This is a global pandemic, but this one girl is going on reporting saying, well, what about the 7,000 people that are dying from coronary artery disease every day? Well, there's a lot of people dying in the world every day on a myriad of causes, from murders to accidents to heart attacks to starvation. 29,000 people die every day from starvation. If you're just tuning in for the show for the first time, I'm a professor of positivity, possibly and practically the most positive person on the planet. But most people don't like good news. I like to report a lot of good news, and I'll do that today, but I wanted to get the bad news out of the way. It's always good to get the bad news out of the way. And what's the bad news? Because the overcrowdedness in the world, we live in a selfish, and litigious society. Speaking of greed, this just came in. Dr. Charles Lieber, a Harvard professor, has been getting paid $50,000 a month from the Chinese government, and he just sold the coronavirus to them. He developed and sold, I don't know if it's the patent or whatever, but he sold the coronavirus to China. This is not a rumor. This is not a hoax. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's on the news right now. They had a press conference just a short while ago. So you'll be hearing about that. this woman named Miss Donna Ashley is the one that's been sending some reports about the 5G, and I'm going to play that. And I'm going to turn the camera around so you don't have to look at me the whole time, and you look at the beautiful scenery out here in Prescott, Arizona. It's a beautiful place. It's the best air in the country. And let me see if I can put here. Let me see what someone said. No, nobody said anything. Anyway, if you're looking at this live, which is live every day at noon, you can call. Today's number is 310. I don't have all my numbers memorized. 619-9752. Come on and call. So let me turn this around so you can see the beautiful scenery out there. You'll see what I'm seeing. Zoom in a little bit, like that maybe. Klaus just sent me a message. Okay, here we go. We're gonna look at this. Is that the second one or the first one? God dang it. Okay, here we go, everybody. Listen in. And I'll pause it now and again.
Part 2, the hoax.
It's showing a 5G rollout map, and then it's showing a confirmed coronavirus cases. And the exact map.
Countries that are rolling out 5G towers using harmful 60 gigahertz millimeter waves are the exact same countries that are reporting coronavirus outbreaks.
Okay, first pause. If you know anything about 5G, please call in, or know anything about 60 gigahertz. That's the most important thing. You're showing you're circling the countries and the outbreaks. You know, obviously, Wuhan was one of the first cities to roll out 5G, and of course, the coronavirus started in 5G. And there's a lot of coincidental stuff, and that's what these conspiracy theories are always about. The conspiracies, United Nations Agenda 21. That's been around for a while. United Nations is the Empire State in New York. They're showing Wuhan Lotus Garland and Wuhan Academy of Science. They're showing, some conspiracy stuff. Have patience. We're going to get to the good stuff in a minute. But they put some time and effort into these videos. And you can Google Agenda 21. It's basically designed supposedly to curb the population down to 500 million. And the Masonics behind it, I guess. C7. So this is the coronavirus, 7th novel coronavirus that's come out. So right now it's just a bunch of images they're showing on this video. And then, you're hearing that it's airborne, you're hearing it can't stay on the surface, then you're hearing it can stay on the surface. So many hoaxes, so many conspiracies. I'm getting confused myself, and I do a lot of research on this. Enjoy the music, enjoy the background there.
Author Dean Koontz released The Eyes of Darkness in 1981, stating in around 2020 a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the world, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments.
Now, that's a fact. That book was written in 81. Wuhan 400.
He called the virus Wuhan 400 a perfect weapon because it was developed at their rDNA labs outside of Wuhan and was the 400th viable strain of man-made microorganisms. Does this sound familiar?
This could be verified.
Of course, we know it was really called Wuhan 400 because the year 2020, or 20 times 20 equals 400, Masonic code talk for the ritual year they would pull off the coronavirus hoax. These Masonic sun worshippers claim the sun is 400 times larger than the moon and 400 times farther away. In Masonic gematria, 400 means return to bread, to tread on or press down, to mutter charms or practice magic, sorcery, or incantation, a sorcerer, and to smite, to rend, or to split. They also claim the aura of plasma that surrounds the sun is called its corona. Journalist researcher Annie Logical at day8 discovered that the company Constellation Brands, who owns Corona Beer, began a New World Order partnership in 2001 where they joined the Human Genome Project, who maps base pairs in human DNA. Constellation Brands also sold a wine company to the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, who are the funders of 5G in the United Kingdom via Arqiva, whom they hold a 48% share. The CEO of Corona Beer and Constellation Brands, Rob Sands, the 2.5 billionaire and number 296 on Forbes' richest list, is a board member of Thompson Hospital and funds the flu clinic, paying for flu vaccines and prescriptions for the uninsured, aka undesirables. He is also a member of Rochester Regional Health, who take part in research for pharmaceutical companies, most likely by testing vaccine weapons on the uninsured. A corona discharge is an electrical discharge brought on by the ionization or energization of a fluid, such as air or plasma, surrounding a conductor that is electrically charged. Corona is the field around high voltage electricity. Corona radiation kills most high voltage electricians by the time they are 55 years old. Corona severely damages the reproductive cells in the liver. Corona causes sterility, miscarriages, and infertility.
They're putting a little thing up about overpopulation.
Now they have labeled those symptoms to be caused by a viral attack called coronavirus. Coincidence that 5G will cause all those symptoms of corona field exposure? But wait, they have a chemical injection to cure you from the harmful reactions to radiation upon your reproductive cell. Take note, death is a common side effect of their cure. The coronal plasma field inside of our bodies is the directing intelligence that allows somatid spores to morph, known as pleomorphism, into the different bacterial sizes, shapes, and forms needed to digest the different kinds, sizes, and shapes of damaged tissues and toxins in our bodies. The molecular geometry of spores to bacteria dances to follow the directing plasma field. The plasma of our microorganisms is held together itself by centripetal forces, which, when strong enough, can reduce radiation. But what happens to our plasma field when bombarded with 60 gigahertz millimeter waves? Will it still be able to create the required microbial forms for detoxing our toxic and damaged cells and tissues? Does the Wuhan 400 Club know something we don't?
They're showing a lot of articles. 400, Microsoft, Wuhan 400, 400 Brits, 400,000 Brits could die, 400,000 considering net visiting, a campaign aid nearly 400,000, 400,000 cures, 400,000 Chinese travelers expected to cancel trips to Japan. Something climbs past 400 in China. Somebody's cutting 400 jobs. These are all articles. About 400 applications for work pass in Singapore. $400 billion worth of industry was destroyed. 400-seat aircraft that flew somewhere. 400 property conference delegates. Doctors see up to 400 patients a day. I mean, these are all articles that are seeing the number 400. 400 Philippine citizens. Over 400 companies warned of the impact. Only 400 patrons allowed. It's very fast. Amazon reports 400% surge in face masks sales. Mongolia to bring 400 people back from China. 400 Americans being evacuated. Coronavirus hits Danish company, 400 garage stores. Warren just proposed a $400 million package. It's amazing how many the number 400 comes up. It's just 400 Chinese workers are infected. Another 400 affected. Something else with another 400. Enacting at least 400 million stimulus to head off 400 police officers in Chinese. It's $400 billion in China. 400 temperature taps and 30 samples at some hotel. 400 scientists convened to find most promising study. China penalizes 400 local officials. Coronavirus to shed airport traffic over 400 million. Infection cases up top 400 in China. 400 million lockdown in China to fight coronavirus. 400 Bambini in auto in Toscana. 400 registered for China. Almost 400 applicants, IUPs and HK1. I mean, it just goes on and on with these. Oh my gosh. 400,000 people dying in Australia. Angry Pakistani families, something about 400. It's just amazing. Dow soars more than 400 points. Another article. Dow falls more than 400 points. Another article.
We could go on and on for hours, but as fun as this is, I hope you're seeing the seriousness of this blatant coordinated attack by every Masonic-controlled publication in every country in the soon-to-be 5G rollout world on every topic under the corona sun. But let's get serious for a moment.
Should do some research on Masonic.
These
temple.
people are not playing around. They are playing for keeps, and it is imperative
50,000
that
under
we
martial law
expose them
in Italy.
and stop them.
We definitely wanted to invest in order to
This is the 5G program
not just try the
director
technology in a lab,
for
but
Vodafone
bring it
Italia.
to life and bring it to the field,
Sabrina
to people,
Baggioni.
realizing basically what we now call an open lab for 5G in the city. So we participated to the beauty contest that the Ministry of Economic Development opened a year and a half ago. And when we won Milan among the three cities, we were very happy because Milan was giving us the opportunity to deliver, test, and develop new applications across all sectors. We're working with the 38
You're showing the coincidence
partners,
between the rollout of
and we're
5G
developing
and the
41
lockdown
use
of other
cases
cities that
plus,
have it.
actually. We're almost close to 50, investing 90 million euro to achieve not only the development of the services, but also plus 80% of the population coverage in order to have that theater to work on. When we started, we
I wanna know
decided
about
to kick off
60
all the
gigahertz.
41
That's what I wanna know
use
about from
cases
everybody.
working table at the same time. So we basically, with a very small team, I organized the team by sector. So every sector would deliver and manage a dedicated number, selected number of use cases in parallel. But we're talking about plus more than 250 people. So bringing them on board, delivering
Always
on
looking to
committed,
interview more people.
roadmap.
If you like what
It's
I'm
been
doing,
quite
call
a
me.
journey, but
We can
one
arrange a
thing was,
podcast,
in
a
common
YouTube
to,
show.
all
all different types
partners.
of things.
That was really to the
After she talks,
curiosity,
it's going
the
to be a really
interest to
interesting
understand what
spin
5G
on
would bring,
4G,
not only
5G
to
and
their own business, but to society in
COVID-19.
general. So we had the hospital, we have hospitals in the partnership. We have big manufacturing industry companies. We have universities, a robotics institute of technologies. We have police, local police. But each of them was driven not only by us doing our job, but also by the genuine interest in understanding how things will be changed by 5G.
It says coronavirus gives the common cold. COVID-19, because it came out in 2019, by the way. Inovio Pharmaceuticals, that's the local biotech company developing the vaccine, the coronavirus vaccine.
Let's see what else Annie Logical has uncovered. Remember, patient zero comes into a Washington hospital 40 miles from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on January 19th, when only a few hundred alleged people have this new common cold and only 6 are dead from it. A very low number for regular flu season in a polluted Chinese city of 11 million. The Gates Foundation Pierbright Institute owns the 2015 patent on coronavirus, and the Washington Post in Washington, D.C., across the country, publishes the news just 2 days later. According to CNN, after the doctor saw his vague symptoms in the middle of regular flu season, I guess a fever, cough, and shortness of breath, he somehow decided, despite the millions of other things it could be, he should rush a sample off immediately on a Sunday to the CDC in Atlanta to be tested for an unknown virus across the world. Why the CDC already had a COVID-19 test waiting and ready to go, and nothing better to do than to rush a test.
They're showing
for a guy
articles
with a
where this is
fever, cough, and
validated.
shortness of breath, and then notify the Washington Post immediately, beggars belief, until you see this. Within 1 day of the CNN article breaking, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness had gotten all of their board members and attorneys together and sealed a $9 million grant deal to Inovio Pharmaceuticals to develop a coronavirus vaccine. Even more unbelievable, despite all flights out of Wuhan already being quarantined by the 22nd of January, Inovio somehow managed to secure a sequence of the virus from Chinese authorities and created a vaccine in just 2 hours, and only 2 days after the CDC confirmed the case. Jack Bauer, eat your heart out. Inovio, the pioneer of DNA vaccinations, is a John Wayne Gacy doppelganger called Dr. David Weiner. This is the same man involved with the Zika vaccine. His partner is Joseph Kim. This Joseph Kim.
President, Mr. Vice President, my name is Joseph Kim. I run a company called Inovio Pharmaceuticals out of Pennsylvania. We're a proud American biotech company with
It's a
R&D
meeting
and
with Trump
manufacturing
they're
in
showing right
California
now.
as well. Inovio is the leader in coronavirus vaccine development in the world. We have a phase 2 product for related MERS coronavirus vaccine in phase 2 stage. When the new outbreak occurred, we applied our very innovative 21st century platform called DNA Medicines platform to COVID-19. By getting just the DNA sequence of the virus, we're able to fully construct our vaccine within 3 hours. And we've been working on preclinical and preparation work with the help of the FDA and acceleration and really working very well together. Our plan is to start the US-based clinical trials for COVID-19 vaccine in April of this year, followed by shortly thereafter a trial in China and South Korea. There are a lot more infections in those areas.
We can give you an area. Now we can. I mean, you take a look at Seattle again. We can give you an area. So, if you don't mind.
We've been collaborating with U.S. agencies like DARPA, NIH. We collaborated with Dr. Birx in HIV vaccines and many, many years ago. With existing resources and capacity, by end of this year, Inovio could deliver about 1 million doses. But to scale by end of this year, but to scale beyond that, we need your help, Mr. President. We need to work with you and your agencies, BARDA and others, to help us scale our vaccine, to manufacture in America, to protect American public, also to lead the world in vaccine development from America. Thank you very much.
So what do these gangsters want to inject in you? First, they injected pigs with DNA to make them breed at a younger age, and next with a virus to help them escape a wasting disease. This was evaluated and approved in 2005 by the Department of Homeland Security, and in 2009, Dr. Kim's company was filing with the FDA to start trials on humans for the swine flu. Dr. Kim has many Merck insiders on his board. They created PCV1 and PCV2, which is pig DNA. Later, PCV1 and 2 pig DNA were discovered in vaccines such as Gardasil, Merck's Rotarix vaccine for diarrhea, and GSK's vaccine Rotatec for diarrhea. Yep, they injected people with pig DNA to stop diarrhea. Even though both vaccines were suspended, and it transpired that all the vaccines for 2 years were contaminated, the FDA only suspended them for a few months and let them carry on. Our dear friend, Professor Gacy Wiener, has perfected a new method of administering these DNA vaccines via electroporation. It's an electromagnetic pulse that opens up the cells, injects foreign DNA into the cells, and then closes the cell membrane.
The same 60 gigahertz is what opens up the cell, the electric field. The electric field induces a voltage across the cell membrane. And after the pulse.
This is the same action that 5G technology uses in pulsed waves, and the coronavirus was reported to have started in Wuhan, China, that had already fully rolled out 5G technology. So were some of these people also vaccinated with some kind of foreign DNA as well last year? According to the Library of Congress, as of December 1st, 2019, right before the coronavirus broke out, China implemented a state immunization program, and residents living within the territory of China were legally obligated to be vaccinated with immunization program vaccines, which are provided by the government, here we go, free of charge. Was Wuhan the first batch? The point is, the company in charge of making the coronavirus vaccine has perfected the art of injecting animal or bird DNA into human chromosomes via electroporation, which alters our DNA and causes things like hemorrhaging, fever, cancers, anaphylactic shock, Guillain-Barré, and even death. Dr. Wiener was highly involved himself with the Zika vaccine. Dr. Weiner is also an advisor to GlaxoSmithKline and Pfizer, a special advisor to the Food and Drug Administration and the National Institute of Health grant review process, deciding who gets monetary grants. No wonder then how his own company, Inovio, was given a $28 million grant by the NIH to develop its genetically modified DNA-based monoclonal antibodies and electroporation. In 2006, Inovio-owned VGX were providing HIV vaccines in Africa, as we discussed in part 1. In 2008, they went into an arrangement to manufacture DNA plasmid for human use. God knows what they spiked that with. In 2009, Inovio filed an IND with the FDA to start trials on humans with a bird DNA vaccine for H5N1 bird flu. Their lead drug for swine flu was licensed in 2009 before the outbreak, as we discussed in part 1. In 2011, they were working with Homeland Security again on foot and mouth disease, and by no coincidence, new strains of foot and mouth disease began the next year in 2012 in the U.S. Back in 2010, they were working with the Department of Defense's Defense Threat Reduction Agency on plasmid studies. Nothing to see here, people. Move along. Dr. Stefan Lanka is a prominent German virologist and molecular biologist. And what the media has told you about him is that he is just a biologist who offered 100,000 euros to anyone who could prove that the measles virus actually exists and is a contagious transmittable disease, and that he lost to David Bartens, a German doctor in a lower German court who sent him a medical study. What the media will never tell you is that David Bartens is the grandson of a former German parliament member, was a paramedic, studied as a midwife, and worked as a perfusionist, a cardiopulmonary bypass machine operator, hardly a virologist or molecular biologist, and that Dr. Lanka took Bartens to a higher regional German court where the decision was reversed despite 6 scientific publications failing to prove anything. And when Barton tried to have that reverse ruling revised, the judge in court saw no reason for that, as he had failed miserably to prove any such thing. The reward is still open, but yet none of the world's top virologists or microbiologists will take the challenge. Again, virologist and molecular biologist Lanka asserts that not even one of the medically relevant viruses has ever been isolated. There is no proof of their existence. But what about these? What are they, and why did a high German court throw them
Ebola,
out as
messing,
evidence of a
polio,
virus twice?
smallpox,
As Dr. Lanka points
influenza,
out, many
measles.
of those so-called photos are colored, which proves at least those are artwork, because electron microscopic photos always appear in black and white.
Interesting. It's true.
The black and white images of so-called HIV, measles, and smallpox viruses clearly show that these are cells wherein the viruses can allegedly be found. Thus, nothing has been isolated. These are just pictures of cells. Not to beat one of Louis Pasteur's vaccinated dead horses, but this is a cell. This is a so-called virus. Cells are alive, viruses are not. The photos actually show cells and typical endogenous particles in them. What are endogenous particles? Particles growing or produced by growth from deep tissue, caused by factors inside the organism or system, produced or synthesized within the organism or system, exactly as we discussed in part 1. Your body makes them. You do not catch them. In the case of herpes, polio, and Ebola, each photo shows only a single particle. Nobody claims they are isolated particles, let alone particles that have been isolated from humans. And again, they are in color, so they are artwork, not photographs. The so-called isolated polio viruses are artificial particles generated by suction of an indifferent mass through a very fine filter into a vacuum. Its characterless structure differs clearly from one of the viruses in the cells. Here the information is essential that a biochemical characterization of those claimed isolated viruses has never been published anywhere. As Annie says, here's how the con job goes. And although it repeats itself under different names year after year, Corona, AIDS, SARS, Ebola, Zika, swine flu, most of the uninformed public reacts as programmed, simply because fear is proven to trigger a narrowing of minds, a lowering of IQ, and stimulation of the child ego, and a reflective obedience towards perceived authority.
Now, for those of you who are listening, you want to call in and comment. The number is 310-619-9752. He's making a lot of, virologist information and talking very highly technical, but he's making a point.
Step 1. Poison the population purposely to create disease that does not and would never occur naturally. Step 2. Parlay the purposely created disease as being caused by something invisible, outside the realm of control or knowledge of the average person. Step 3. Create a toxic vaccine or medication that was always intended to further poison the population into an early grave. Step 4. Parlay the vaccine or medication poisoning as proof of the disease, which never existed.
It says bullshit on the screen. It's called the 5G hoax, this
Step
presentation.
5. Increase the initial poisoning, which is marketed as fake disease, and also increase the vaccine and medication poisoning to start piling the bodies into the stratosphere.
Calling it Agenda
If
21.
you don't want your body burned in Hyde Park, I probably wouldn't put this into it. Because step 6 means repeat as many times as possible upon an uninformed public, because killing a population this way, the art of having people line up to kill themselves with poison, known as soft kill method, is the only legal way to make sure such a eugenics operation can be executed en masse in plain sight. As far as any logical is concerned, this whole thing is another hoax, another fake pandemic on the way. The usual players are involved. They claim to have a vaccine in 2 to 3 hours. There is a mock-up of the very same thing just a couple of months before, Event 201, involving the US CDC and the Chinese CDC, as well as representatives from all of the usual agencies and companies, such as the Gates Foundation, and it gives 5G the opportunity to be showcased and seen as a great asset. It also gets a lockdown at the time when the public in those areas were protesting against the incinerators that were causing respiratory problems.
We're showing some articles about the 25th 5G global protest. A lot of people are protesting 5G. That's why they're stopping to roll it out.
What better way to make use of the situation than to use it against the people?
Showing our video from China, people being dragged out of their homes with people in
She
hazmat
also
suits.
thinks the pulsed waves of 5G have the same actions as that of the electroporation method perfected by Dr. Wiener, the same man who has been given the contract to create the vaccine. So it would appear that 5G pulsed waves would enable any pollutants to penetrate the body more easily and give the appearance of a viral infection. Wuhan is filthy. It scores very high on air pollution,
The highest,
high on
85.
drinking water pollution, and inaccessibility to clean drinking water, high on dissatisfaction with garbage disposal. People were protesting open-air garbage incinerators. It's dirty and untidy, has high water pollution, high stress levels from dissatisfaction and spending time in the city. They turned on 5G towers all over the city last year
October.
and introduced mandatory vaccines just before the so-called outbreak.
December
It's a
1st.
miracle millions of them aren't dropping dead from sepsis and the flu instead of just a few thousand. Aside from the anomaly of a dry cough not belonging to flu symptoms, why are people falling over and going into convulsions in Wuhan, but everywhere else in the world the symptoms for the same alleged virus are no symptoms at all? And where did the other thousands of alleged flus go this flu season? What, they're all on vacation, so anybody with a fever,
I was wondering
dry
about that
cough,
myself.
and shortness
They don't
of
report
breath
anything about
suddenly has
the regular
coronavirus?
influenza anymore.
Any cigarette smoker calls that Monday morning. So how are they testing for this?
Showing another sign called bullshit on the screen.
For starters, it might shock you to learn that most people are not being tested for actual protein nucleic acid in tissue, the term for DNA and RNA, because before the CDC and other labs could even possibly manufacture and distribute the millions of test kits, samples of blood and tissue need to be sent off to the minuscule amount of labs in each country that could
Says
even
there's 6 of them
possibly
in the
test
US.
for this, which means doctors are testing you for symptoms, i.e. fever, dry cough, fatigue, and shortness of breath, also known as the common cold or flu. Even the actual lab tests are simply looking for antibodies, which are specific proteins and nucleic acids made in response to so-called infections, which, as we covered in part 1, anybody who is toxic and creating somatid bacteria or viruses in their own body to clean out those toxins will obviously have these inside of their tissue.
Well, there's another 36 minutes on that particular part 2 of that presentation. Part 1 was really amazing. So if you want more information on those kind of things, just send an email to Dr. Fantastic at Be Fantastic Today. Be happy to share it with you. There's a lot of hoaxes. There's a lot of conspiracies. I'm not advocating either one. I'm just trying to bring out as much information to everyone as I can. I normally like to report a lot of positive things. But the more you know, the more you can judge for yourself. It makes life easier the more you know. I encourage you to learn and do some research, but I also encourage you right now to have a cocktail, watch a comedy, play with the kids, do some research on the internet, create some stuff, plant a garden, enjoy life, think positive, join the Be Fantastic movement, and tune in tomorrow for, I won't do this again to you, I promise. But there was some pretty interesting information there. If you have any comments, send an email to Dr. Fantastic at Be Fantastic Today. Love to hear about it. Be fantastic, everyone. My podcasts are people I personally know that I interview, and they are fantastic. The podcast and the radio show are all about interviewing people that have information or technology to improve your mind, your body, or the planet. And it's linked to Be Fantastic phone apps, the Be Fantastic Today website, and be fantastic, everybody. We're all going to get through it. Don't panic, don't fear, don't stress. Be positive, and thanks for watching.